Welcome back to Fox and Friends. Hearings on Muslim radicalization in America are set to kick off this week. New York Congressman Peter King calling for the hearings because of the threat that al-Qaeda poses in the United States. But some say these meetings are un-American. They're planning protests today in New York's Times Square.
New York Congressman and Homeland Security Committee Chairman Peter King joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Good morning. Great to be with you. How are you guys doing?
We are doing fantastic. Tell us about these hearings and what you hope to find.
These hearings are absolutely essential. The Attorney General, the Secretary of Homeland Security have all spoken about the increasing threat from domestic radicalization. Eric Holder back in December said he can't sleep at night because of the number of young Muslim Americans who are willing to take up arms against their government. And me, as the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, have an absolute obligation to investigate that, to find out the extent of the radicalization, how it's being done, the extent of cooperation from the Muslim leadership, and what can be done to correct this entire situation. And all the attacks against me from, I think, Russell Simmons, Kim Kardashian, Puff Daddy Combs, is not going to slow me down at all. This is, to me, absolutely essential that I go ahead with this hearing. I'm not going to give in to political correctness. I'm going to do it.
I'm glad you're not being slowed down by Puff Daddy. But there are some other angry people out there, including Imam Ali. He's of the Islamic Cultural Center. I'll quote him. He says, "Singling out the Muslim community is discrimination, and it is something that's difficult to comprehend." And others, Congressman, are likening it to the McCarthy hearings, looking and witch hunt for communists in this country and what it would mean to the national security of the United States. What do you say to them?
That's absolute nonsense. The fact is, the main threat is coming from within the Muslim community. Eric Holder, the most liberal attorney general in 40 years, has said that he can't sleep at night because of the growing radicalization from the Muslim community. So who should I be investigating if not within the Muslim community? I have said time and again, the overwhelming majority of Muslims are good Americans. But the threat is coming from their community. We have to find out why, how it's being done, how we can stop it.
Look no further than Germany. Go ahead and finish.
No, I would think that the Muslim community should be embracing what I'm doing, should be willing to cooperate, because they should be trying to root these people out of their community and cooperate with the police and the FBI.
Yeah, and hopefully they begin to speak out against the radical elements of Islam. I was mentioning what happened in Germany. You're well aware, 2 U.S. servicemen shot at the airport there in Germany, and it appears the German officials have labeled this this is a radical Islam, and said this man was angry over the war in Afghanistan. Yet we've seen both State Department spokesman P.J. Crowley and Janet Napolitano last night on Huckabee refuse to call this terrorism. Here's what she had to say, and then I want you to react.
Sure.
What we have seen in the last several years is a growth of al-Qaeda and al-Qaeda-related groups, a small percentage or small number of individuals who are Muslim and acting in a misguided name of Muslim, we call them Islamists, have plotted or planned, and they've been intercepted.
Hey, I married a lawyer, so I know legalese. I can't understand all this. Why the hesitation to just call this what it is? It is terrorism, is it not?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed because Secretary Napolitano, 2 years ago when she first became secretary, refused to use the word terrorism. Then when she testified before a committee 3 weeks ago, she used it 62 times in one statement. And now they seem to be reverting back. This was terrorism, which obviously was terrorism, and it should be called that. And it's Islamist, you can call it Islamist terrorism, you can call it Muslim terrorism. The fact is, it is terrorism, and an American soldier who was defending our country was shot overseas by an Islamist. If that isn't terrorism, I don't know what it is. But let me say that, actually, I have developed a very good relationship with Secretary Napolitano. I don't know who in the administration has made this decision over the last 4 days not to call this shooting an act of terrorism. But overall, I think the administration actually is getting much better on this. In fact, I understand this afternoon that Dennis McDonough, the President's National Security Advisor, is going to give a major speech on radicalization. So I think my position and the administration's is not as far apart as some might think. I'm just carrying their position to its logical conclusion.
I'm curious, Congressman, now when you hold these hearings and you're trying to find Islamic extremists living here in the United States, what sorts of markers, signs, things can you look for that can point to this? And what can we do to stop it? It seems that we are always left sort of blindsided by these attacks.
Well, one of the purposes of the hearing is I will have witnesses coming from the Muslim community. Actually, 2 family members of young men who were radicalized. One was murdered, and one went on to carry out a terrible act of violence himself. And they're going to talk about the signs that they saw. They saw how it happened. They saw how the mosques were involved, how imams were involved, how leaders in the community did not cooperate with them. And they will talk about various telltale indicators so that people in the community can see in the future how the radicalization has begun, how it's carried out. And also we'll see from witnesses how often they're told not to cooperate with the FBI, not to cooperate with police, and somehow a wall of silence has developed. So all of that is part of why I'm holding these hearings.
Sounds important to us, I would think. All right, Congressman Peter King,
Well,
always
thank you.
great to have you here on Fox and Friends. Thanks so much.